Welcome, everybody, to the World of Ability Podcast Network. My name is Lingel, and I'm a podcast engineer assistant here, and excited to bring you another episode of Who Cares with our friend Todd, who is with the Cares Foundation in Arizona. That's all about connected with his experience of losing family members to a drunk driver, um, and is about the education of youth and the dangers of drunk driving, peer pressure, some other things like that. Um, but I do this show every Wednesday morning uh, at 10:45 a.m. Central, 10:45 Mountain, and to have you come on as a guest. But with nothing further to do, I'll bring in Todd here to kick us off here today. So, welcome, Todd.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you for that introduction. And welcome, everybody. I'm Todd Lingel with CARES Foundation. It's awesome to be here today to be able to share with you, maybe teach you a little bit. On today's show, we're talking about 5 fun ways to get your teen talking, because as we well know, it's very difficult to get a teen talking sometimes, especially today with their cell phones and everything. We've also got Kurt Roskoff here with us. Kurt, welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm liking the topic. Let's get
All right.
talking.
Well, I'm going to share the screen with you. We've got this is what I put together. So can you see that, Emily and Kurt?
Yeah, you can see it.
Okay, so 5 fun ways to get your teen talking without the eye roll. I'll just read the introduction here. Let's face it, getting your teenager to open up can feel like trying to crack the code to a safe. You might get a grunt, an eye roll, or the infamous one-word answer, but deep down, your teen wants to be heard and understood. Even if they don't always show it, the key is creating the right opportunities for those important conversations to happen naturally, without the pressure or awkwardness. Here are 5 fun activities you can do together. So we put 5 activities together here. Play a game together. First thing, do the Monopoly or the Uno. What I used to do, I've done before, is have a game night. Get out there, get the kids going, and put the phones down. Put all the electronics away. That for an evening, just communicate. I've got a quick story. I used to coach basketball, and the defense that I ran, the kids had to communicate. It's called a matchup zone, and they weren't communicating very well. So I figured out that these kids were texting each other right beside when they're sitting beside each other. So I took their phones away on away trips, and they started to communicate better. And it was just amazing how that communication opened up. So that's the first one. Play a game together, Monopoly, Uno, something like that. Something to get chatting a little bit, and go from there. Number 2, go out to dinner, but you let them pick the place. By letting them pick the place, it empowers them to make that choice, helping to open up things like, why did you choose that? How was school? Ask them different questions. Don't be afraid to really get in and talk. And don't go to the restaurant with your electronics again, cell phone on either side, and nobody's talking. Put the electronics away. Then number 3, get active. Do a sport together. I've down here rock climbing, paddleboarding. It can be as little just going for a walk and talking. I have found today when I go out and talk to kids, and I go into group homes as well, the big thing that I keep hearing is we want some respect. And back when I grew up, you had to earn the respect. You had to really earn it. And today, kids' days, want everything now and all that, and they want the respect. And I said, hey, okay, I understand that. You get some respect, but you got to give it as well. And we'll meet in the middle, and then we can chat. And they're like, yeah, okay, that's reasonable kind of thing. So that's kind of the way the mentality of the kids that I've seen today so far. But do a sport, whatever it is. Even if you have to, if you can't get outside and do something, then do something. Maybe it's inside. Just some type of fun activity and sport together. Um, Number 4, go to a movie and don't skip the after talk. That's important. Go to the movie, but then afterwards, what did you think about the character's decision? Ask them some questions, get them talking, communicating, because I think in today's world, the communication is going to be an issue because of the electronics and everything. Everybody's just so focused on those electronics and not actually communicating face to face. So it's I think the communication is going to be a big issue here in years to come. Um, Number 5, volunteer together. Go to a food bank, join a cleanup crew. A lot of different things out there to be able to volunteer for, and then share a sense of purpose. I have to share a story. My son, I took him to a food bank. We were helping pass out a meal, and after we were done, my son was probably about, I'm going to guess, 12, 13. He goes, "Man, Dad," he said, "I didn't realize there was homeless of kids the same age as me." I'm like, "Yeah, Cody, there's all ages out there." And so that really was an eye opener for him. So it can do a lot of things doing that and giving back to others. Definitely a powerful lesson that can be learned. Um, and here's a bonus tip we give you: take a road trip, even if it's just for the afternoon. One thing I like to do some days, I'll get in the car and I'll go and I'll stop at an intersection. If there's nobody behind me, I'll flip a coin, tails left, heads right, and I'll just go. And it's amazing on different places I've been, just by doing that. Uh, and then just a little conclusion here. Just the biggest thing is keep open communication with your teens, because as you do that, you're allowing them and letting them know that you care, and that when they get into an issue or a problem, they know that communication is there. They're going to be more likely to come to you and talk to you than if you were just on the cell phones and never communicated to your team. So even if you get an eye roll or anything like that, get your teens out and um, you know just talk with them. So that's kind of the quick on the top five fun ways. Kurt, what was one of these maybe hit you a little bit more than the other? Maybe when your kid's growing up. I know you have a daughter.
Yeah, I have a fifth or whoa, I just said 15-year-old, 16-year-old. She just had a birthday a week ago, so I got used to saying 16 now. So, but yeah, there's definitely room for me to improve on, opening up space and opportunity, and not get wrapped up into all these other activities that, like, you and Emily and I, and we just around with Alan Holmes and all these people that pull me away from her. I have to be a little cognizant of that, and prioritize that. Family comes first, and be more available. Last night we were able to dive into a little, mathematics challenge. I got defeated. A little high school math, and I went at it and I did it wrong, but basically she figured it out on her own faster than I could figure it out myself. I knew how to do it, but I did it wrong. So, but she had gotten it, so let it go at that. But let me back up a little bit, Todd. You came into this show with these ways to communicate with our teen.
Absolutely.
There's a real reason that you brought this in. So can you share a little bit in terms of, we've done in past shows the whole background of why there is CARES Foundation, and then you're building out, what's available in CARES Foundation. There's a real reason that we just saw that right now. You want to share what that is?
CARES Foundation is built because my mom and sister were killed by a drunk driver when I was 3 years old. And so at that point, it was back in 1975. I'm 52 years old now. It was the old buck up buddy kind of thing, the attitude of just buck up buttercup, I guess what I would say. And we just closed my mom and sister's really talking anything about her and just shoved it to the side, and they never talk. And so that's probably one of these things. The communication is why I thought about this so much, is because, I love my dad, and, I can't imagine losing your wife and daughter. So I know he had to been going through some, wow, I don't even know what he was going through. So to not communicate about it, I can see that because it would hurt if you communicated about it. But even if those tough things, I think is where you've got to communicate about it. And so as growing up, I always felt like there was something really odd, different. And that feeling after some counseling in mid 30s and almost committing suicide, I realized that feeling was anxiety and general anxiety and separation anxiety. And so that is this communication is key. I think communication is key on everything in a marriage, in a working relationship, as a boss and coworker, anywhere. I think is a huge thing, and I think the cell phones have taken that away. The actual sit down, communicate. I even asked some of these kids when I was coaching them in high school that I mentioned, how are you guys going to communicate when you get married? If it's all you know is the cell phone. And so that's kind of the communication is a huge thing for CARES Foundation. And so as we go on, and I want to help these kids that have been affected by drugs and alcohol or any other situation, that we open different things up. And one thing we have that's opened up is Camp CARES, and we'll hopefully be having that in June of this year. We're trying to raise funds for that, and that's for kids who've been affected by drugs and alcohol or any other thing. I think we're going to open this up even to veterans that might have issues or whatever, and their kids could come in and just we want kids to learn and to communicate, and they can get through things. And so Camp CARES, June 6th through the 13th. And so what it's going to be is we're going to have some I call it counseling in the morning and the afternoon. What it is we're going to be overview and talking about like peer pressure. We could talk about some things like that, like communication could be one we're going to talk about. Just things, tools we're going to give these kids to help them go out in the world and succeed. And it can be anger. We can talk about anger and how to deal with that. And in the afternoon, we'll have a session. And then our theme is Survivor, like the TV show. And so we're going to have some fun. We have games and some competitions. And one thing I am trying to do, I don't have it with me here, but I have a backpack we're trying to get sponsored. It's $2,700 for 120 backpacks. And we have them sourced at $22.50 a piece with the person's, if it's a company, we have their logo on the bag as well. And so we want to give them that at the end of the camp with some goodies inside, like because we are Survivor theme. We want to put like a flashlight and some different things like that. But then we also put a book in. So it's not just survival where we think out in the woods or that type of a thing, but just survival in life. So it could be a book that we put in there, and we have some people donating some things to be able to put in those. And and I'm going to show them the backpack at the first of the week when we start, say, this is what you're going to get as we go through everything. And so that's like an incentive for them to participate in the things that are going on in the camp. And then they get this as a reward at the end of the camp. So we just want to give back and help these kids that need help. Maybe they don't know they need help because there maybe something's caused anger or something. We're just there to help them. And then afterwards, we want to get together with these kids at least every 3 months and check in with them and give them some more tools. And then one thing that we are developing right now, and I call it Kids Life Program. It might be called something different as we go along. But another friend of mine and he has a nonprofit as well. And this Kids Life Program is getting back to basics. Like, can kids read a tape measure? Probably not these days. They don't get taught that. How to change a tire on your car, check your oil, and then kind of step up and what is credit? What is a credit report? What is a credit score? How does it help you? How does it hinder you? Those types of things. And then get up to like the advanced part of it would be like how to buy a home, how to buy a car, what's the difference between a traditional and Roth IRA, those types of things. So we take these kids ages probably 12 on up to 18 through this Kids Life Program, and they start off at Camp CARES, go through this program, and if they complete the program and keep their grades up, we go on a trip like to Disneyland or something like that, somewhere maybe they had never been before, never had an opportunity to do, so that we want these kids, and some that maybe they're less fortunate that are in the projects as well here in Phoenix, that have never been on a trip like that. And we want them to be able to dream. We want them to be able to, if they can dream it, they can achieve it, so that they can go after their dreams and their goals and set goals. Maybe they don't have goals, have them set goals, and to help these kids, like, you know what, just anything you want to do, you can do it. It may be a little bit harder for you because the resources aren't there, but you can still achieve it if you really work after it. And so that's kind of in a nutshell what we're trying to do here at CARES Foundation right now. And, we're always open to new ideas and branching out just to where we can help kids all told. So that's kind of where we're at.
Very good. And another important component in what you were speaking to, the original mantra is, if you can conceive it and believe it, you can achieve it. Absolutely. So you talked about conceiving it and achieving it and dreaming it and all that, but the big key is believing it. And that's where, when you showed the document communication and, going to a movie or playing a game, there is that efficacy, and there's that response. And, as a parent, I think it's important to think about how you want to be authentic and genuine, and how you really do believe in your child, and to experience that within us as an adult. A parent is one thing, but then if we don't transfer that to our child, we're really missing an opportunity. And that's where even myself too, I do that, but could I do more? Absolutely. And that's where the opportunity is, because a person's ability to believe in themselves, like you doing Camp Cares, Todd, and the team doing Camp Cares, and everybody out there that is listening and viewing to this video, to believe in the accomplishment, in achieving a wonderful camp, where in a short set of days and weeks here, we can get a response where money comes in, because we have people who believe in this camp, where they're putting dollars forward to make it happen, because the whole dream here is to have people be able to come into this camp, and the lunch and breakfast and dinners and all food fare is provided during this camp experience, and that needs to be funded. There's a price tag on that, and that's where we need the financial support. But back to a teen believing in themselves, that is so important. I name dropped Alan Holmes, who does our Mastery of Connection show, and we like everything he's doing. He brings in a lot of great guests on his show that is prior to this one in production, and he brought in a gentleman by the name of Bob Holmes. They're not related, but Bob Holmes deals with teen suicide, or suicide by any child, any youth, any minor, that suicide realm, and then other things. He also shares your passion in distracted driving. So, because he's looking at things that kill the nation, and what can we do to do that, and to address suicide ideation is first and foremost. So look at somebody who's in suicide ideation, which my understanding, Todd, is you have lived experience with that. Is that true?
Absolutely. Yep. In my mid-30s. Yep.
So would you agree that when you're in that dark place, you lose touch of believing in yourself? Would that be true?
Absolutely. And I think for me, it came before that, in months before that. And so I think one thing, people that are around teens or others, just be cognizant of individuals. If they start being a little off from what they had been, that's a place to just ask questions, because I was going through a lot, and I would talk about some things, but I was pretty well kept to myself in that. And, I've thought, when I had the shotgun in my mouth and almost pulled the trigger, and that definitely was not me. I was like, I've been really thinking about where my mindset was at that point. And honestly, I can't even think at that point. I don't know. I just, is all I remember is the shotgun in my mouth and I couldn't pull the trigger. And I think that was God grabbing me saying, "Hey, what are you doing? Stop." And so then when I came out, it was almost like I wasn't in my own body. It's really weird. Um, that I thought about, like, what did you just do? It would freak me out. And so um, yeah, I just pay attention to people or kids before, because these kids are going through a ton in school, from the bullying to peer pressure to a lot of different things, and there's pressure on them to perform too. Um, just check in and ask questions. I guess that's the biggest thing. And and yeah, it's very close to me. I've got actually on the back of my cell phone, and I can't see it well, the number 988, and that's a number, the lifeline you can call for crisis, for the suicide crisis. So so yeah, it's close to my heart.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the perspective that I've attained, because I personally have not gone through that lived experience. I definitely have experienced some depths of my own, right, towards that direction, I'll say, but I've never gone through it like you have, Todd, or everybody out there. But I've been trying to learn from it because, you know, in my life journey, I've lost people, to the demons of suicide and everything. And so just trying to understand and getting into meetings and presentations and everything on the issue of suicide prevention, and just trying my best to relate. And, what comes out of that is kind of the forward, to me, it seems like the most important thought is the idea of being available. So to the idea of, like, you're setting parents up with the idea of playing games, taking a trip, movie, some things, because the point is being together, to be available. Because if a teenager or any child experiences absenteeism, and they start to develop, like, oh, my parents are not the ones that I go to when I'm going through stuff, then you're hoping they're going to somebody, but you're taking that chance that they don't have anybody in their life that they go to, or even understanding if it is the 988, having it on your refrigerator or whatever. You,
Yeah.
you never want a person to be in that place where they come to need help. Um, I think I've shared with you before. I know I've shared. There's somebody, we do water skiing. My wife, daughter, and I were a water ski family.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple decades ago, we had a member of the team that, was a teenager when she was with us, and she went off to college, and it seemed like, what we were getting secondhand, like everything was going good with her at college. But then a couple years into it, all of a sudden we're getting the news that we lost this friend to suicide at college. And when we were in college, we heard about that, you know, um, death of college students to suicide, is out there. So when you're going through college, the universities need to deal with that as well. But the idea is, we have a situation that people don't have someone to lean on when needed. And there's that song from the 80s, lean on me when
Yeah.
need a,
And
that, that's a very real thing in life. And the other thing is to pay attention to conversations we have, because in the realm of human trafficking, that, our group was taught that you run into a situation where if there's something going on with other people, other families, and
Yeah.
say someone in that family makes a destructive decision, and gets sexually involved with another person, you might say some things like, "Oh, that's so horrible," or whatever, that happened. And then say your teen hears that and say they get mixed up and they make a destructive decision. See, now they're not going to come to you.
Yep.
because you just ostracized, or you just spoke very poorly and darkly in a way that they would never want to have you think of that to them, and they just heard you say it about something else, so now they're not going to come to you.
Yep.
See, and that's what's going on out there is parents are surprised that something they thought was just a conversation they were participating in was harmless actually harmed their own family because it became relevant. They never would have thought that their son or daughter would get involved in something like that. And so they just speak to how it's so awful, which seems like you want to discourage
Yeah.
your children to not get involved in those spaces. But when you say that, you're basically saying, if you come to me with that, be ready for the wrath of what I'm going to say about you, what I'm going to think about you. And then they
Yeah.
don't like that.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
that's where everything you shared helps us maybe diffuse some of that stuff, because we really create that we're here for them, right?
Absolutely. And that's exactly why I put this together, because when I was even growing up, there was a lot of kids, well, I can't call my parents, or I can't talk to my parents about this or whatever. And that's where today, if a teenager goes out and decides that they're going to drink and be dumb that night, they should be able to know that if something it comes down to it, they can call their parents. But there's a lot of kids that won't call their parents. And so when I am speaking, I give out my personal cell phone number, and I tell kids, call me. If it's 2:00 in the morning and you've been stupid, or 4:00 in the morning, and it's you getting into a car with somebody else that's drunk, or another situation, instead of that, call me, and I will get you help. Now, you're underage. If you're underage, I'm definitely going to be calling your parents, because they need to know. But you don't have to call your parents. I'll be the buffer in between. I'll talk to your parents. But yes, are there going to be consequences? Yes, you made a mistake. You disobeyed. So there are consequences to that, just like there's consequences if we drive fast and we get a ticket from a cop. That's a consequence. A ticket's consequence. And I said, but just don't make it worse by getting in a vehicle or something else. And then I'll even sit on a call with the parents and the child and have a conversation, so there can open up communication between the parents and the teenager. I just don't want teens making that mistake, because there's so many times, and I've heard it over and over. Oh, I can't call my parents. They'd be so mad. Well, parents, talk to your teens. Again, communication, open communication. If you get that peer pressure that you can't say no to and you decide to do it, that's a mistake. That's not maybe a choice that you wanted to make, but it's that peer pressure is so tough and so strong that you go ahead and do that. Well, you know what? That's a mistake. And parents, you need to be able to talk and think about when you were back in school with the peer pressure that you felt, or the peer pressure you feel now at work, or something like that. It's works both ways. Sorry about the noise. They're doing yard work next door with blowers. So that's what I tell parents when I've talked to them before. It's open that line of communication, and it's a rocky road up and down, and unfortunate for my son and my daughter. I was going through a lot of this stuff when they were early teens, or teens and then younger. But so they saw me go through a lot of this stuff, which I tried to keep a lot from them, but it's couldn't really keep a lot from them, because they were there living with me. But and I could have done a way better job of communication. And so I'm speaking to myself as I was when I was younger. So, but yeah, just communicate to your teens. If you need help, I'm always here. carestoday.org is a website. My personal cell phone number is 541-490-5171. And I do have an Arizona number that rings to my same number. It's 602-552-1375. So, and if you're in the Arizona local area, call me up. Let's meet. I'll meet you in person. So yeah, and that's what we're all about, the Cares Foundation. Kurt, Emily, you have anything? Last things. I know we're getting close on time here.
Well, I want to give Emily a little bit of a chance to share a little bit, thinking back to her teen years. Emily, I know you're quite a hellion back in your day. You got a brother and a sister, and with your parents, how did they respond to you with all the trouble you caused, Emily? How did that work?
Trying to remember, but I think communication is really, really important, and with everything. So yeah, I think it's a good topic.
There you
Oh,
go. Well said.
can't remember those days, huh?
Yeah. So Todd, I just want to slip in here real quick that actually getting away from what you had prepared and what we were talking about a little bit. I just kind of want to slip in a little bit of added thing in the realm of what we're doing ongoing. And
Yeah.
you have been featured on Community Pay It Forward with Zach Clayton. Are you aware of what he's doing on February 22nd?
I am not actually. I've been seeing a couple different things, but I haven't.
All right, so this is kind of steering over to the veteran front. So as far as teens, this could be about veterans who are parents of teens and so forth. But just more generally in the veteran front of things, which is a little bit off from exactly our mission, but we can always create that intersection. But Emily,
Yeah.
do you want to describe for the close of our show, or just get a little announcement of what our friend Zach Clayton with Community Pay It Forward is up to for February 22nd? A little calendar note.
So February 22nd, which is in like 10 days, Zach is doing a 22-hour like live stream podcast that is kind of focused on kind of veteran and veteran related things, and kind of connected with his Community Pay It Forward program. Then like having different people come on and talking about like their experience or things connected to those veterans and so on. Do you want to say more about it?
Yeah, so again, a 22-hour podcast inspired out of the branding of our issue of veteran suicide, losing the lives of veteran to suicide. And we know that drugs and alcohol on the suicide issue can be all wrapped up into it. It can be part of the experience. So, like I say, it all fits together. It's the human experience, and just another way that we can outreach and help people doing great work. Zach Clayton supports all nonprofits, like right here at CARES Foundation. So I just wanted to make sure everybody has that opportunity to go look for the PAC channel and Impact Fundraising and Community Pay It Forward social media and follow that program. It's definitely going to be something that when you see what Zach does, you're going to be very proud that that type of event is happening here in our country, because it's needed, because we're a long ways away from what our veterans need. And like I say, if we're talking about a veteran and their family, that could be bringing us right back here and making sure that teens aren't picking up on maybe some things that a veteran is going through and struggle as a parent, and then picking up on some of these things and maybe not making the decision that they really want to make, but maybe mom or dad is doing it and they just kind of feel it's the way to deal with things, when maybe it's driven by PTSD and who knows what else. So we're just
Yeah.
here to help people because we care here at CARES Foundation. So Todd, anything else you wanted to say before we end?
Well, I think I just want to just put it out there. If anyone's needing help, again, my cell phone number is 541-490-5171. And here for the podcast, Who Cares? We really care here at CARES Foundation, and we're here to help. So that's all I have for today. Thank you, Kurt. Thank you, Emily. And we will be here next Wednesday, 9:45 Mountain. And so we will see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.